Yes. Yeah. And we can start with introductions. So I'll say it again for the recording. My name is Susan Mertz, and I am the Executive Director at Evergreen. I'm going to pass the mic to Cameron.
Thanks, Susan. My name is Cameron Brantley. I'm the Associate Director for kindergarten through 4th grade. I'm also the AIG coordinator, which AIG is Academically Intellectually Gifted program. And I'm going to pass it on to Kelly.
Hi, I'm Kelly Stevenson. I am Student Services and Data Manager here at Evergreen. And I am going to pass it on to one of our fabulous student ambassadors, Lucia.
Hi, I'm Lucia. I'm in 7th grade and I've been at Evergreen since kindergarten.
And I do not see Sophia yet. Is that correct? We have another student ambassador, Sophia, that we expect to join us. And also joining us in a little while will be Jen Watkins, who is the Associate Director for grades 5 through 8. So as soon as she is able to hop out of her other meeting, she'll pop in here. So I'm going to ask you all, the rest of you who haven't had a chance to introduce yourselves yet, go ahead and put in the chat if you like. Just put your first name and maybe the grade level that of the child that you're considering entering into Evergreen's lottery. Put that in the chat and we can see who we've got. Identical twins. There was one year that we had 5 sets of twins. We started in the same grade. Lots of kindergartners. Great. Well, we look forward to meeting you all in person at one point. So I'm going to, let's see. I can remember how to work this slideshow. There we go. So this slide is our mission statement, and Evergreen is a mission-driven school. We live by this mission. I can't promise that we all know how to recite it verbatim, but I can promise that if you walk through our school building, you will see this mission, you'll feel the mission, you'll see it in action. So similar to what we do with our students, we want to engage you right away. I don't want to read the mission statement to you, but I'd like for you to read it yourself and pick out a word or a phrase that resonates with you. And go ahead and pop that in the chat too. Holistic service, holistic education, voice, more holistic. Cameron's going to talk later about what holistic means for us and how we practice holistic education. Stewardship, yeah. Lifelong learning. Great. Well, feel free to keep typing things in as you go. We don't want you to stop, but I also want to keep us moving here. I wanted to just talk real briefly about what charter schools in North Carolina look like. As I say that, I'm realizing they all look different. Every charter school in North Carolina looks different from the others. There are charter schools around the country in most states, and every state has their own version of how they set up charter schools in their state. In North Carolina, charter schools are tuition-free public schools. Parents choose to send their children to a charter school, and they do not pay tuition for that. The funding primarily comes from the state revenue, and the state revenue rather follows the child. Charter schools were set up in North Carolina to be able to provide innovation and serve as lab schools and offer some flexibility in curriculum and instruction. And we'll get again more into the details of what that looks like at Evergreen. Charter schools were designed to engage teachers and parents in leadership. And I mentioned that the funding comes from the state. We also get some federal funding. There's a lot in the media, I guess, about charter schools having less accountability, and I would argue that we have at least as much accountability to different agencies, different state agencies and federal agencies. We have annual financial monitoring. We monitor our students for the academic progress the same way as other public schools do. And then we have all of the other education laws that we follow as well. So that's an overview of charter schools in North Carolina. And I know that you're really here to learn more about Evergreen. So I'm going to ask Cameron to talk more about what EL education is and how that fits into what we do. Cameron?
Thanks again, Susan. Yeah, EL education is our approach to teaching and learning. And those 5 words right there go to the heart of what EL education is. The learning is active, so the kids are engaged in authentic work. It's challenging. Our teachers expect excellence and teach the students what that is, what that looks like, and how to get there. It's meaningful. Students are engaged in real world issues, and they're doing learning that has a purpose. Their learning is public. We have celebrations of learning several times throughout the year where students get to share what they've been studying about and learning about and experiencing with their families, with other students and the community at large. And then finally, it's collaborative, where school leaders, teachers, students, and families all work together so that we are meeting, as Susan said, meeting and living that mission statement on a daily basis. Go on to the next one. There you go. So what sets us apart? So EL education is, as I said, is kind of the framework that we operate under, and we are trying to get kids out experiencing their learning. We would much rather have kids getting their hands dirty and their knees all banged up, learning about something than reading about it in a book or experiencing it in a computer lab. Expeditions and fieldwork are central to that. Expeditions are long-term investigations into a topic. And there are guiding questions that are big ideas that students are trying to answer as they study that larger topic, a larger idea. And it is an integration of the science curriculum, the social studies curriculum, the language arts and math curriculum. And oftentimes we're bringing in our enrichments, the art, music, PE, technology, are all working together to eventually be able, so that students are eventually able to answer the guiding questions. And then fieldwork is another integral part of that, with experts coming into the classroom, but also the students going out into the field. We use that word fieldwork for a reason, rather than saying we're going on a field trip, because the students are going out to do work. And the pictures that you see there are students engaged in that field work. The top picture is students, they are helping band birds as part of their expedition about adaptation. And then the students below are working on a fieldwork journal where they are taking notes about what the expert that is talking to them is bringing to them. And I believe looking at them, that was probably second grade, so they were learning about weather. EL education has three dimensions of achievement, and that academic piece is known as mastery of knowledge and skills, and given equal weight is character education. And then finally, quality work is a piece that is also something that we are constantly talking with students about. We are also a school that teaches anti-racism to our kindergartner through eighth graders with the integration of the Learning for Justice standards, where students are learning about identity and diversity and justice, and then how to take action around those different ideas. Leadership is another piece, as the previous slide said. Collaboration is really important, and part of that collaboration is taking on a leadership role, and students are explicitly taught those leadership skills. And then again, in keeping with our mission, we are focused on the environmental stewardship and service. And that's a big piece of what we do, both on campus and then out in the field. Lucia, I have a question for you. What has been your favorite expedition and why?
Well, I have done a lot of expeditions since I've been at Evergreen, but I have to say that my favorite has been in 5th grade when we did a project on American history. And we each picked a big event that happened in the past 100 years, and then we wrote a story about it. We made a piece of artwork, and that expedition was what inspired my love of American history.
As a former 5th grade teacher, that warms my heart to hear you pick that particular expedition. In the next slide, as I mentioned earlier, along with the academic piece, that mastery of knowledge and skills, character education is a critical part of what we try to do here at Evergreen. And we do that through the habits of scholars that are depicted here on the wheel. And those are habits that we want our students to learn about and exhibit by the time that they leave us when they are graduating from 8th grade. And they are habits that are explicitly taught as oftentimes as part of the expeditions. They're woven in. And they're also explicitly scored. Students are assessed on those habits and get feedback on how they're doing, how they're progressing with demonstrating those habits and living those habits. And we feel strongly that those are life skills that are integrated in that with those habits, that they are things that are going to help our students be successful, not just when they're in their classroom or on campus or in field work, but beyond the doors once they leave us and go on to their next adventure. The next piece, positive discipline, that is our overarching discipline approach, where we look at discipline not as students have done something wrong, but that students still have something to learn. If they've had a conflict with in the classroom, or whether it's with another student, or having trouble meeting the expectations in the classroom. And a big piece of that is class meetings, where if there is a problem that is happening in a classroom, the students come together and brainstorm some solutions and then try one out and come back together a week or two later and decide whether it's working or not, and whether they need to keep doing what they're doing or try a new strategy to address that problem. And class meetings happen primarily weekly, but in the younger grades, they're happening even more frequently as things happen in the day-to-day world of kindergarten, first and second grade. Positive discipline is also around, has an aspect of restorative justice, where we want students to understand the impact of their actions, and if they have not met expectations, then what do they do to try to make up for that and restore the balance that was in the classroom. Finally, Crew is a vehicle for not only the character education, but also the social emotional learning. And crews are smaller groups of students within a grade level or within a class that are working with one of the teachers in their classroom, or one of the teachers in middle school, one of the teachers that they have through Enrichments, and are coming together and through initiatives or through leadership opportunities, they are learning about those habits of scholars and getting opportunities to practice those habits of scholars. Has Sophia joined us yet?
Sophia is with us, but she's having some technical problems. She said she can't hear us. So Sophia might need to log out and log back in again. I'm wondering, Lucia, if we can put you on the spot and ask you to say something about Crew.
Yeah, well, Crew is, at least in 7th grade, we do it every week for about like 45 minutes. We do team building exercises, and sorry, my dogs are barking in the background. And sometimes we'll go outside and play sports with other crews. And then sometimes we'll do big, almost field days where we'll play like a bunch of games. We did that one back in the summer. But yeah, it's a small group of students just in 7th grade, taken from our homeroom. And it's really fun.
Thanks, Lucia.
All righty, enrichments. Those are our specialist classes, and you can see the list of them there. Enrichments happen for all of the grade levels, kindergarten through 8th grade, 4 days a week, every day but Monday. And they last about 40 to 50 minutes, depending on the grade level. And every classroom has adventure 1 day a week, adventure PE 1 day a week. And then the rest of those enrichment classes are spread out across the rest of the week or across the year. So they don't have every single one of those every week. The health and personal development are enrichment classes that are happening with our middle schoolers. Those classes start in 5th grade. And then environmental education is just like technology, music, art, library, and PE is another one of the enrichment classes that students go through. As I mentioned earlier, all of these are really closely, what they're doing in these classes is really closely aligned to what they're doing in their regular classrooms. The art that they may be doing is tied into the expedition or the technology. If they're learning about geography, they're working in Google Earth and technology. So they're all closely tied and integrated into what's happening in the classroom.
All right, I think Sophia is with us. Sophia, can you hear us now? You might need to unmute yourself.
Sorry, my audio was not working. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
That's okay. We're glad you're here, Sophia, and able to get in. Sophia, could you talk to us a little bit about and share your experience with Enrichments?
Okay, so we have enrichments that we have all year round, and for PE, we keep that the whole year. It's called Adventure PE. And we have technology, music, art, library, health, Adventure PE. Personal development is more later. And then we have EE. And basically the enrichments they're kind of like extracurriculars that we do. And they're to help us grow as people more and explore more if we want to. There are just more opportunities to do stuff that we want to do.
Fantastic, thanks. Another piece of Evergreen is differentiated services. Our curriculum in our classrooms are set up to be differentiated. So the differing needs of students in the classroom are being met. And there are times where some students need additional services. And that comes through our Exceptional Children's Program, which it provides a continuum of service. And what that means is that students are pulled out of class sometimes. The teachers, the EC teachers, exceptional children's teachers, are going into the classrooms to provide that additional and different instruction for students that need a boost so that they are meeting the standards and meeting the benchmarks at each grade level. Those services include speech and language, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and counseling. We also have 504 accommodations, and this, along with the Exceptional Children's Program, are federal programs. And 504 accommodations come into play with students that may need a different learning environment. They need accommodations in order to meet the expectations in the classrooms and to perform at the level that they're capable of performing. So they may need extended time on assignments, or they may need to have assignments modified for them, and that's where 504s come in. We also provide academic support in kindergarten through 8th grade, and those are academic support comes in to play for students that may not quite be meeting benchmarks and just need a little bit extra help to meet those benchmarks, and offer those services for students in reading and math. And then finally, we also have students that need additional challenge. They are already meeting the expectations in the classroom, the benchmarks, or they're exceeding the benchmarks, and they need to be doing something different as well. And those services are provided in kindergarten through 8th grade, both as pull-out services as well as the AIG teachers pushing it in.
So Cameron, I'm going to stop just for a second so we can catch up on a couple of questions that are in the chat. Making sure I haven't missed any. There's a question about, do we have a drama or theater program? And the answer is no, unfortunately, we do not. The list, the things listed on the previous slide are the enrichments that we do have. We do have occasionally, it's starting to become an annual event. We have a talent show that's voluntary for our older students, and they can sign up to be in it, and they'll put on performances, but we do not have a full-on drama program. And there was another question about Spanish. We do not have a Spanish class either. We're going to get to the school hours and the after school program in just a little bit. So that hold on to that for a little bit later. And we're going to get into how many classes per grade. But we're going to hit some more logistics. So ask again if we don't get that to you. Okay. All right. Cameron, back to you.
All righty. So this will answer some of those questions that are popping up on the chat. We have in kindergarten through 8th grade, there are 2 classes at each grade level. In kindergarten through 5th grade, we have a lead teacher and an associate teacher in each classroom. And our associates are just that. Our associate teachers are just that. They're another teacher in the classroom. And then in 6th through 8, there's an associate teacher in every grade level. There are also in 5th and 6th grade, the students have a science and math teacher and a social studies and language arts teacher. And then in 7th and 8th grade, they have 4 different teachers that they rotate through. They've got a science, a social studies, language arts, and a math teacher that they see throughout the day. You can see our class sizes there. They start with 22 in kindergarten, up through to 26 in 5th through 8th grade. And then, yes, we have classrooms where students spend a lot of their day, but they are also outside, not just at lunch and recess, but they are outside in the different learning environments that we have available on campus. We have an outdoor classroom. We have a garden that is a big piece of the environmental education program. We have a fire circle. We have several areas that are utilized outside the classroom. And as I mentioned earlier, there's also the field work where students are going off campus to extend their learning. And that's where Lucia comes in to talk about one of her fieldwork experiences.
Well, my favorite fieldwork experience has definitely been earlier this year when the entire 7th grade, we were learning about the velocity of roller coasters and the physics behind roller coasters. So we took an all-grade trip to Dollywood for an entire day. And that was super fun. And then once after that field work, we got to make our own paper roller coasters and then had a marble. And then my other favorite would be in 4th grade when we went to Big Bald. That's when we were learning about birds. And so we got up there, we did a lot of bird watching. They have a area where they will like tag the birds. There's a picture of that in earlier slides. And that one was super fun.
Thanks, Lucia.
So there's a question in the chat. How long is recess? Sophia, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry about that.
No problem. I know you're juggling a lot right now. Can you talk about what recess looks like?
Yeah. Okay, so recess is about 30 or 40 minutes long, although it can, like some grades, like some of the lower grades, they have more recess than the older grades do. And sometimes they'll have like little breaks in between classes so they can just like get some fresh air and just like recollect themselves. Then they'll get back to classes. And that happens until like 5th grade. They do that. But for the 7th grade, we get like an hour where we can like juggle how we do it. So preferably it's like 30 minutes eat and then 30 minutes recess, but you can you have as much time to eat as you need, and then you can go to recess.
Thanks, Alicia.
I'll also add to this question, because I get this question about recess a lot, because I give tours. And I just want to add that we really take advantage of our 10-acre campus here at Evergreen. And so recess will happen outside, but other things happen outside too. So you might have a math lesson on the trail that runs the perimeter of the campus, or you might have a science lesson where your classroom walks down to Hall Creek and studies the water in the creek. So there's lots of opportunities at Evergreen for outside classes and lessons that aren't necessarily recess.
I'm going to talk just briefly about parents as partners. We truly value, not just value, we need parents as partners. And parents are engaged in many, many different ways. We do have weekly communications from the classrooms to parents. We also have weekly communications from like that are school-wide from our communications office out to parents. And beyond that, parents are involved in the governance of our school. We are a school district in and of ourselves. So we're one school in a school district, and we have our own board of directors. And the board of directors consists of roughly 1/3 parents, 1/3 community members, and 1/3 teachers. So parents are involved in the leadership in our school. They also serve on committees, even if they're not on the full board. We do have a partnership agreement that lays out kind of the expectations, but more so, I guess, the promises of what the school will do for parents and families, and what the parents can do in return. And like I said, engagement looks really different for all families. The pictures that you see, you can see a few different examples. Parents might be involved in coming in and reading to the little kiddos, once a week or once a month. Other parents might help out. This one mom is making snow cones at a community event that we had a few years ago. And then others, the bottom picture is some parents that were helping with a fundraising event for the Science Olympiad or Odyssey of the Mind. The parents are also involved or engaged in making phone calls to class, other parents in the class, just to connect with them. They're involved in washing the dirty rags at the end of each week. That doesn't make for such a cool picture, so we don't have one of that. And parents are involved in serving on committees, as I mentioned earlier, but maybe just offering up ideas and participating in surveys when we're trying to figure out some answers to some problems that we're engaging with. So it looks really different for every parent, and there are a lot of opportunities that we have identified, and we also ask parents to identify ways that they want to be engaged, because it needs to be a partnership, not just a transaction. As far as reporting to parents goes, each student in grades kindergarten through 8th grade has a portfolio of their work, where they're collecting examples of the work that they've been doing across the year. Those portfolios stay with the kids kindergarten through 4th grade, and then they get pretty full and they don't make big binders big enough. So then they turn into digital portfolios in 5th through 8th grade. Those portfolios are used in student-led conferences. So in kindergarten and 1st grade, in the fall, we have parent-teacher conferences, and those are all individualized. And then in the spring, in 2nd through 8th grade in the fall, and then for all grades in the spring, we have student-led conferences. So parents sign up and they come in and meet with the students at a designated time. And the students talk about what they've learned and how they've learned it, and they show their progress. As the one girl in the picture that you've seen, I don't know if you can tell, but there's kind of a graph there. She was keeping track of, I think, the number of sight words that she mastered reading. So, the students are, we call them leaders of their own learning, and this is a way that they show that. We do use standards-based progress reports. So a student, we don't expect a student to know everything at the beginning of the year. But by the end of the year, we hope that they do with whatever supports are necessary. And those progress reports that are issued at the end of each trimester show the growth that students are making and measure whether those students have achieved or have mastered or exceeded the benchmarks and standards that we're teaching to them. We, as a public school, we are required to do the North Carolina state testing. So starting in 3rd grade, kiddos take the end of grade tests in reading and math. In 5th and 8th grade, there's tests, end of grade tests in science as well. And in the lower grades, the students are taking the Read to Achieve through the Read to Achieve program. They're also tested in reading throughout the year. Excuse me. We also have other ways of using diagnostic assessments when we see that kiddos need help and we need help understanding what they're learning and where their challenges might be. Cameron, do you mind taking this slide? I don't think Jen is with us yet.
I'm here. I'm here. Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Watkins. I'm the Associate Director for 5th through 8th grade, and I apologize for being late. I was in another meeting that ran long. I'm just going to go over state testing results really quickly and also kind of give you a little bit of context for them. So the first slide that you're looking at is our last year's what we call end of grade test results for reading. And the basic takeaway is what we want you to see is that many of our kids score pretty high on these tests, that we have over 80% of our kids scored on grade level proficiency for reading, and about 60% scored in the college and career ready level, which is a level 4 on the state test, level 4 or 5. I think an important thing for math, for all standardized test results to just say is, yes, we typically score above the local school, the other local schools, and we score above the state average. But here at Evergreen, our focus is actually not on testing. We do not do a lot of test practice. We do not do a lot of test preparation. Some classrooms will do a little bit of it toward the end of the school year just to help kids feel more familiar with the end of grade testing. It is one measure of a student's success or needs in the classroom. As a public school, we do all the tests that we are required to do, and we do all the same tests that other public schools do. But we use that as in conjunction with all of our data that we collect on students, and also as part of their, looking at their portfolios and their character progress and their habits of scholars progress and all of those pieces too, to really look at the big picture of who they are as a person and how they are becoming, how they are growing as a learner versus just what did they score on this test. So we share that, just wanted you to think about that piece of we're teaching critical thinking and we're teaching inquiry and problem solving. And what we see is that normally translates to positive test results. We switch to the next slide. The next one is math. And while our math scores are not as strong, you can see that we do not out average other local schools as much as we do in reading. We do have some pretty strong math scores as well. One area that one of our professional development groups at school has been looking at, of our groups of teachers, has been looking at how do we strengthen our math program at Evergreen. So we are working on that internally as well. Yeah, that's all for testing. It's not our focus. So I'm also going to talk a little bit about opportunities outside of class. So things your kids, if they are here at Evergreen, might get to do that are not strictly academic or not strictly happening in the classroom. And we are looking at these, we offer these opportunities in part to help students build their character, to work on their habits of scholars and habits of learning, such as responsibility and self-regulation, for example. We also want students to be able to develop leadership skills. And so many of our opportunities outside of class, such as student ambassadors or climbing wall or being a belayer on a climbing wall, is part of developing leadership skills. We also have math buddies where older kids go in and work with younger kids in math. And we have various things that happen in and out of classrooms as well. So you can see a list of some of the things we offer outside of the classroom. The climbing wall is one to highlight because we have a climbing wall in our gym, and we try to make sure that every student has an opportunity to get on the climbing wall every year, at least once. It doesn't always happen more than once, but that is an option that we have in class and outside of class. So some of these also happen during Ever After, which is our after school program. And our after school program is a wonderful place outside of the classroom for kids to get to explore a little bit more on campus, but it is fee-based. It is meant to be supportive of students and also supportive of families who are working parents. And so it is open till 6 p.m. each evening. Students can choose from a variety of options for various enrichment clubs, such as skateboarding or pottery. Legos is often one. Lots of art, different options are often available. They have a structured mix of some free play time, lots of outdoor time, study hall in upper grades when possible and when needed. And older kids starting in 5th grade can play team sports. We have, we're part of the Hospitality League, and we have flag football and volleyball and basketball and soccer at the moment. Maybe, do we have ultimate? I can't remember. Ultimate as well. Okay. I think another important thing to say about Ever After is that it is actually open to non-Evergreen students as well. So we do have a number of students who come to join our Ever After program who don't attend Evergreen at school. And then we have a couple other fee-based services that are important to know about too. And one is before school care. So again, trying to support families that are working longer hours than the school day. So before school care opens at 7:30, and it is a fee basis starting at 7:30 and then free to all students starting at 7:55. So we encourage families to drop kids off early enough that they have some time to settle in before classes start at 8:30 every morning. We also have Summer Adventures, which is our summer camp that is hosted here at Evergreen, or hosted by Evergreen. And it's a weekly day camp. It has lots of enrichment opportunities and field trips and basically a whole lot of fun. And just like Ever After, Summer Adventures is open to students who do not attend Evergreen. And they seem to really have a great time when I'm here working and they're here playing. So yeah, those are some of our other options that we have. Thanks.
Thanks, Jen. There was a question in the chat that I'm going to lob back to you, Jen or Cameron. Do you use a particular curriculum?
It depends on the subject and it depends on the grade level, but we do not have a particular curriculum that is used K-8 for math or a particular curriculum that is used K-8 for reading. Kindergarten through 2nd grade use what's called Skills Block, which is an EL education module for teaching some reading skills. And then our kindergarten through 5th grade classes use Investigations Math as the basis for their math instruction, with lots of other things supplementing that as well. We, in general, our teachers are really pretty amazing at taking the standards and taking their expeditions and their curriculum and building their own curriculum based on what their classroom, their grade level needs and what their students need. Karen, would you like to add anything to it?
I think just to add a little bit more about the reading curriculum in K2, it is based off the science of reading. It's really closely aligned with the science of reading and how students learn to read. And then from 3rd grade on where students, rather than learning to read, are reading to learn. A lot of what they're doing, the curriculum is that integration with Expedition, and they're doing novel studies that are closely tied to what they're learning about through their expeditions.
Thanks. And then there was another question about the fees for the different activities that we mentioned. I want to refer you to our website. And if you click on, I think it's the button that says Ever After School Activities. In there, you'll find links to the Ever After program, as well as before school program, summer program, sports and things like that. I was just working on the budget for summer adventures, so I can say that it's approximately $300 a week. There's a fee for registration on top of that. And then I believe that the after school program is, I want to say $15 an afternoon. Kelly, does that sound right?
Yes, currently it's $15 a day.
Okay.
And then if you're involved in a club, then those run per trimester, and you would pay one fee for that trimester of club. Say if you came every Wednesday, I think that was about $130, $140 per club.
And before school, the portion that we charge for the 7:30 to 7:55 is $5. And then there was one more question. Are all children at Evergreen guaranteed a spot with Ever After and before school if needed? Yeah, we have room for you all. Yeah. Sophia's chiming in. Services provided to any student of Evergreen. Thank you. All right, let's move on here. Kelly, do you want to talk some more about logistics?
Yes, so our school year at Evergreen begins in August and runs through June. In addition to a winter break and a spring break for the past few years, and again, in the 23-24 school year, we will have a fall break in October and a February break. When we're planning our calendar, we try to align these breaks as much as we can as possible with Asheville City Schools and Buncombe County Schools. There is a required orientation day on the first day of school, which for the 23-24 school year is going to be August 15th. It is a half day and it's required for both parents and students. During that orientation day, we'll cover expectations for learning, attendance, and a whole lot more information about the upcoming school year. School day, so our classes begin at 8:30. On Mondays, all grades dismiss at 1:35 p.m. On Tuesday through Friday, we stagger our dismissal. So kindergarten through second grade, they dismiss at 2:50. Grades 3 to 5 dismiss at 3 o'clock, and grades 6 through 8 dismiss at 3:15. And again, there's those fee-based before school, 7:30, and after school until 6 o'clock p.m. And then before school is free from 7:55 till 8:15. Transportation. We currently do not have buses that transport students to and from school. However, that said, we strongly encourage families to join carpools. And I keep an extensive list of families who are interested in carpooling where they live, and I'll connect families who live in similar areas so that they can carpool together. Student nutrition. So we are excited that we started a new lunch program this year. It's actually breakfast, lunch, and snack. So we've been partnering with the Equal Plates Project at Southside Kitchen, and we have healthy homemade lunches every day using locally grown produce. Currently, snacks are $5 a week and lunches are $6 a meal. However, those snack, breakfast, and lunch are available free of charge to students whose families qualify as economically disadvantaged. Of course, students also bring their own lunch from home if they like. Oh, and orientation is on the 16th of August. Thanks, Jen. So entering the lottery. Open enrollment to enter our lottery has begun, started on January the 1st, and we'll run that through March 31st. You can apply online at evergreensccs.org. That's our website. You'll go to the prospective students page, and there'll be a button that says apply now. That will take you to the platform that we use for our lottery, which is called Lotteries. And you will create an account at Lotteries and enter your students into their grade lottery. Our lottery is going to be held via Zoom, so you can watch it if you'd like. It's on April 12th at 9:00 a.m. Students who are offered a spot at Evergreen will learn on that day, April 12th, right around between 9 and 10 a.m. if you have a spot. If you did not get a spot, then our waiting list will be formed on that day. And then once we verify that the lottery ran well and did everything it needed to do, we will open back up applications to what we still call the lottery, and students who are enter after the lottery is held will be placed on the bottom of the wait lists. And just a few other things. Evergreen does not discriminate based on race, gender, religion, or ethnicity. And Evergreen recognizes the social and educational value of diverse leadership, staff, and student community. To that end, we actively seek and encourage board member and employee applications from qualified individuals representing diverse social, ethnic, and racial groups. And all students eligible to attend North Carolina public schools are encouraged to participate in our lottery. All right, so that ends our slide presentation. If you have any questions for us, please put them in the chat and we will do our best to answer your questions. We are also going to write down the list of your questions and answers, and we will post those on our website.
There's a question in the chat that I would love for Alicia or Sophia to take because you're in the classrooms. Can you paint a picture of what a typical classroom looks like? Maybe Alicia, since you've been here since kindergarten, you can talk about what it looks like in one of the lower grades. And Sophia, you can talk about what it looks like in 6th or 7th grade.
Yeah. So usually in the younger grades, we'll arrive the classroom. I think it's open. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it like the doors to the school open at 8:10, and then we have all the students can get into class until 8:30, and then I think after that they're counted as tardied. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So usually right after 8:30 we'll have like a class meeting, or maybe class meeting isn't the right word. It's more of like a homeroom, kind of just saying like what the day will be like, what if our enrichments will be. And then we'll usually do one class, maybe math or reading. And after that, we'll either go to enrichments or lunch or recess. And all of those together will maybe be around an hour and a half. Then afterward, we might do another class. And then later in the afternoon, we might have like a crew activity. And then sometimes other activities like outside time. And then dismissal later in the afternoon.
Thanks, Alicia. Sophia, can you talk about what the physical setup of the classrooms?
Yeah. So we do not use individual desks except for a few if like a student needs their own space, that we have an option for that. But we have tables, at least in the 7th grade, we have tables that fit about 6. I don't know about the younger grades, but that's what our classroom looks like. And for the older grades, so 7th and 8th grade, you will do 2 classes and then you'll go to your enrichment or your lunchtime. And then after lunch and enrichment, then you'll go to your next class and then you'll do your last 2 classes of the day.
Thanks, Sophia. Cameron, the next part of that question is asking about technology. And it sounds like this might be from the parent of a younger student. What grade would we expect our kid to be exposed to a computer or tablet?
So our technology as an enrichment class starts in 2nd grade, where students start with the basics of learning how to use a mouse and exploring what's available, the different uses of a computer. In all of the grades, including kindergarten, there are some times where students use tablets, use iPads, either for research or for producing products, whether it's a slideshow or a movie or some kind of documentation of what they're learning. I go back to what I said earlier about we would rather have our kids get out and get their hands dirty, learning about plants or trees, and then looking them up on the computer, on an iPad or on a laptop. We do have a 1-to-1 in is it 5th grade through 8th grade, where students have a laptop that is a Chromebook that they can use as part of their learning in the classroom.
Yeah, I would add that the 1-to-1, it's not a true 1-to-1 because they're not taking the same laptop home, but every student has access to a Chromebook in every classroom in 5th grade through 8th grade, and they use them pretty extensively in the upper grades and not so much in the lower grades. Release times again, everybody gets released at 1:35 on Mondays. And then on Tuesday through Friday, the kindergarten through K2, get this right, kindergarten through 2nd grade are released at 2:50. And I'm looking for nods from people who have better memory than I do. And then 3rd through 5th grade get released at 3 o'clock. 6 through 8 are released at 3:15. So we will, I'm gonna look back through the chat after we sign off and make sure that we've answered your questions. I think we've pretty much hit them all, but if I see anything, we'll make sure that we get that back out to you. If you haven't already taken a tour of the school in person, we would love for you to come and visit, and information about that is on the Prospective Families tab on our website. And I think that's it for now. So thank you so much for being here. I'm glad you came, and like I said before, I hope to see you in person. Bye.